call the regular meeting of City Council for Monday, December 6th to order. And our first order of business, no, sorry, I have to do something first. We have a new individual at our administration side of the room today, and it's a pleasure, honestly, to welcome Terry Vetter to the City of Dawson Creek as our new Chief Financial Officer. And Terry, welcome. Congratulations. Thank you so much. And we really look forward to having you join our team at the City, and welcome. Our first order of business this morning, our first item is our delegations, and 2.1, we have Yinka Adewale, Health and Safety Manager, in attendance. In regards to a recognition for the City of Dawson Creek that we've received the 2021 BCMSA Organizational Safety and Excellence Award. And so it's my pleasure this morning to present the award with Yinka, and I'm going to come out and around. So, honest to goodness, Yinka, the award to me is one that we should all take great pride in. And I say this, every employee deserves to go home safely every day. And I think that's, to me, the efforts that you put in driving that excellence in the city on behalf of a culture of safety. It's really so important, and I really want to thank you for the effort and work, and to all the employees and all of the management team of the city, because it is very, very cool to me to be able to see this recognition. So thank you so much. Thank you for all your work and effort, and it's very cool to get this award. Do you want to speak a little bit about what the award is?
Well, first of all, the award is dedicated to everyone here. Thank you for the support that you've given health and safety and the commitment of the organization to health and safety. This award is given to municipalities in DC by British Columbia Municipal Safety Association for efforts that they put into making sure that injuries are reduced or eliminated in the workplace. So for the past 3 years, we've consistently received discounts. We've earned discount from WorkSafe BC, and that's why they give the award.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Great job. Thank you. Thank you. No late items, and new councillor business. Anyone? Item 5 is our minutes. So we'll have 5.1. We'll adopt the minutes of our public hearing of November 22nd. Please move. Second. Councillor Kemp. Second. Councillor Dober. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you.
I don't think I was here.
Oh, right. You weren't there. I thought I saw your hand go up. Sorry. Councillor Earl. Second. The 5.2, the minutes of our regular meeting of council with the committee of the whole minutes for November 22nd. Councillor Kemp, second. Councillor, it's going to be a day. Councillor Earl, all those in favor, opposed, carried. Thank you. Is there any business arising out of the minutes for anyone? Item 7, 7.1, correspondence. We have an email from Kathy Peters regarding a request for child sex trafficking roundtables in the Peace region in the north. Councillor Wilbur?
I will need for information.
Thank you. Second? Councillor Earl, all in favor? Opposed? Carried. I will speak, honestly, the aspect of hosting a roundtable to me is, I'm very supportive of the initiatives that Kathy has taken on, and I think as we all are at council. But for me to be able to organize a roundtable with all of the communities and associated is just a little bit more than I have the capacity to take on, and but I'm fully supportive of it. 7.2, we have a letter from Tanya Stedel, our grant writer, in regards for a request for a resolution for Canada Community Revitalization Fund. Councillor Earl?
Thank you, Your Worship, and I'll move the resolution that the City of Dawson Creek supports the application of the Government of Canada, Canada Community Revitalization Fund, to create a multi-use outdoor facility in Kin Park for a grant up to $314,808.
Thank you. Second? Councillor Kemp, discussion? Staff, do you want to just give an update on it briefly?
Through Your Worship, this is one of the many grants that we've applied for the revitalization. So this grant will is $314,000. When we initially applied for it, was $420,000 was a project. So they are going to fund $314,000 for the revitalization of the tennis courts and the pickleball courts. There's also basketball as well as volleyball and badminton.
Thank you, Shantae. Any further discussion, comments? First, Councillor Parslow.
So I understand the scope, but I just have a question about the mist-in or splash park. Would it be able to be put there as well? Should the council decide to have such a facility in the Kin Park? So it can be a whole, holistic place.
Through Your Worship, definitely. What will be happening is where the tennis courts are currently, we will be what do we call that word? Decommissioning that, so that area will be available, as well as when we move the tennis courts and the pickleball courts further down, there'll still be some green space as well available in the Kin Park. So there is still space. What could end up being some of the places where they use for track and field and that, there won't be the large space there, but we'll be need to put in a parking lot, as well as the 3 tennis courts, 4 pickleball courts, and a basketball court.
And last question, do we have a cost estimate for the misting park? There's been some visitations and there's been some discussion. I just wonder if we have a handle on that.
So through Urban Systems, when we did that engagement piece, there was a cost with all of the whole thing for redeveloping at Rotary Park. I don't have that exact total on there, what that cost would be, but there was the playgrounds, there was a whole bunch of cost within that stuff, but we can pull that out if you definitely would like that. We can work with Blair and figure out how we do that.
That's my impression. We received that report, and I know that we're having the Rotary Lake decommissioned and filled, but I'm wondering if in the long term we will have maybe a splash park in a different location, given the concerns about flooding.
Definitely. One of the things is we're still trying to do the recreation master plan, which would be, that was one of the capital items. Yeah. So we would like to put everything together to determine how we would move forward within the whole scope of parks and additional activities for the community.
Right. And that's in 2021, right?
2022.
Yeah.
Correct.
Thank you. Further comments? Further questions? Thank you, Shantae. All those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Thank you. 7.3, we have an email from Raceland Vance Bronson, a resident of Dawson Creek, in regards to a request for the increased service from the Dawson Creek Transit System. So, Councillor Earl.
I move that we deny the request.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Javetkov. Discussion? Did you want to speak to it, Councillor Earl? Go ahead.
Sure, Your Worship. Thank you. So I start out by saying I do appreciate Raceland's passion for the topic, and for those who rely on the bus service, I can understand how some of the reductions we've made might frustrate people. But the reality of the situation is, I do take a bit of issue with some of the points he's made in his communication. Firstly, the notion that we didn't have a fulsome, broad-reaching discussion on this issue that provided ample opportunity for public input is simply not correct. And secondly, this was the result of years and years and years of underutilization of public transit service. The idea that if we build it, they will come is just frankly not accurate, because we did build it as a city for the better part of 10 years. And we had a number of routes, a number of different organizational attempts to get more utilization out of it. And we consistently, along with our partners or our neighbors in Fort St. John, had among the lowest utilization rate in the province. We were subsidizing public transit at twice the amount of our peer groups, and that is information from BC Transit. And in discussions with them, in discussions with staff at the time, it was made abundantly clear that the service was being primarily used as a to transport kids to and from school. And that was, when we looked at those reductions, that was what we tried to maintain, and I think we've done a pretty good job. For those who would highlight the environmental benefits of public transit, I don't disagree with you. When it's working as intended, public transit can be a great tool for alleviating environmental pressures, but 3 full-size buses doing laps around the city 12 hours a day, 6 days a week that are empty don't benefit the environment, and they weren't in the system we had. So I appreciate this. If at any time in the future I do think there's the demand for increased service, I'd be happy to explore that topic then and have that conversation. But as things stand now, I do remain confident in the decision we made a couple of years back. But I do thank Raceland for reaching out, and I do appreciate his passion on the topic.
Thank you. Councillor Dober?
Thank you, Worship. Yeah, as well as Councillor Earl, I appreciate obviously the concerns with this. I just had a question. I don't know if the facts in here are true in this letter, but it says that it's a 9% ridership. If that is accurate, what was it before when we had full buses?
Blair?
Through your worship, I don't remember a time when we've had full buses. I mean, with all due respect to our transit system, it is used by those that use it. It is an important asset to the community, without question. I don't have the exact numbers in front of me. I'd have to bring those up. We brought them under the BC Transit report previously. Kevin may know the exact number, but what we have done is, without question, about 15 years ago, the school district used to take the school children from school to school as the buses came in. They've since changed that out, going back about 15 years, and in that transition, the city picked up that transportation of students with our transit system. So well used in the morning and in the afternoon at certain points. For the most part, though, after that, I think it is fair to say that it's rare you see a bus with more than a couple of people on it, if at all. But Kevin, do you have the exact numbers with you? Otherwise, we can dig those up for you. But
I wasn't meaning like when the buses were full. I was meaning, I guess, when we had more in the budget for it. Like, was it around that 9% too, or was it a lot more?
9% of, now I'm just curious, 9% of the population riding the buses? Because that would not be factual.
Okay.
So so I'm not sure maybe the amount of ridership, but Raceland obviously very passionate about the bus system, uses it. But some of the numbers we would have to dig up and maybe even meet with Raceland if he so wanted to go over those. So
Thank you.
Thank you. I think honestly, certainly the last 8 years that I've been on council and as mayor, we've really looked at all the different options of increasing routes, added buses, in an effort to try to encourage ridership. And the model where we share in the cost of this service with BC Transit for capital, and then any revenue comes to the city. It just not has, whatever we've done in terms of trying to increase ridership by adding more routes, adding more buses, it just didn't seem to impact in a positive way the ridership, and we continued to see that ever escalating costs to the taxpayers. And honestly, for me, I don't know that there's an option available to us to try to increase it. It's a great soundbite to say, well, if we had more, the seniors would ride it or other people would ride it. People just don't ride our buses, and it doesn't seem to matter what we've done. We just can't increase that ridership, and it's been really difficult in terms of seeing that happen. But appreciate, obviously, Raceland's passion for it and understand why he's passionate about it. He's a big proponent of it, but whatever we've done, we just cannot seem to get more people riding those buses, and to see them running around yet today still, they run around for the most part empty. And that's a difficult thing to see for all of us when we know how much it's costing us. Further discussion, further comments? All those in favor? Opposed? It's carried. Thank you. Reports 8.1, we have report number 21171 from the Chief Administrative Officer regarding the Peace River Regional District Cemetery Contribution Memorandum of Understanding. Councillor Dober.
Thank you, Worship. I'll make a motion that report number 21-171 from the Chief Administrative Officer, reason Peace River Regional District Cemetery Contribution Memorandum of Understanding be received. Further, that the staff be authorized to enter into the Memorandum of Understanding whereby the Peace River Regional District Electoral Area D contributes $10,000 per year towards the general operating and maintenance cost of the Brookside Cemetery and Dawson Creek Cemetery for a period of 5 years beginning on January 1st, 2022.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Earl, discussion? Councillor Parslow?
So a question to staff is, why aren't we getting a contribution from Area DE?
Thank you. Through you, Your Worship. This was a discussion that we had with Director Hebert on some other issues, and he raised this and brought forward the contribution. We will reach out to Area E and see if they would like to do the same, but this was initiated by Electoral Area D Director, Director Hebert. So that's why we see this here before us.
Thank you. Further discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Thank you. 8.2, we have report number 21159 from the Director of Infrastructure regarding the request for proposals for the 2021-39 bulk water sale kiosk replacement. Councillor Parslow, your light's still on.
Oh, yeah. I don't mind making the motion if you want.
Go ahead, Councillor Parslow.
Oops. So the recommendation I support is that report number 21-159 from the Director of Infrastructure, we request for proposal 2021-39 bulk water sales kiosk replacement be received. Further, the Council award request for proposal 2021-39 bulk water sales kiosk replacement to Spartan Controls for the contract price of $168,089.09 excluding taxes.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Kemp. Discussion? Councillor Dober?
Thank you, Worship. I have a few questions. One, just under the financial implications, it says over the next 5 years. Am I assuming that that's that amount spread over 5 years, or it's that amount per year for 5 years?
Kevin?
Yeah, through your worship. So there's an initial capital cost for this, but because it's a cloud-based program and run over the web, that there's an annual operating cost that we subscribe to. So that's where those over the 5-year term costs.
And that's the 3,200 to 3,600 per 5 years. Okay.
Yeah.
And then my other question is, I get it says in here the reason why we're doing this is to reduce calls to the city. Like, is this like by spending this amount of money on something like this, is it actually going to benefit the city financially? Like, are we saving that much?
So through your worship, there's a couple things on the reasons why we want to do this. One is as you mentioned, a lot of the foot traffic that comes into City Hall to finance is for individuals coming to recharge their water fobs and to get credits on there. So there's a lot of foot traffic so this would eliminate that because it would all be done remotely. Anybody who's got access to the internet can upload, buy credits via their own credit cards or however. So that would remove that walk-in customer. And then you'd be able to do it any time of day or night. From the customer perspective, much more convenient. Number two is that when we had the cyber attack on the city, that is what we determined is the gateway essentially is how they got into our system is through water sales. And I don't pretend to understand all the technical aspects, but the water sales, because it's on our network and just how it works, that was the gateway that they eventually got into our system. So this will remove that and will provide much greater security for our system as a whole.
Okay, thank you. And then just one last question. I might just not understand this clearly, but with the utilities like water and sewer and stuff, those funds stay in a separate department, right? Like what comes in has to go out equally. So is there a reason, if I'm understanding that correctly, is there a reason why this portion wouldn't come out of like the water utility? Or is it coming out of that?
Yeah, through your worship, it would be funded through the water utility as a capital program.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Kevin. Anything further, Council? All those in favor? Opposed? It's carried. Thank you. Bylaws, item 9.1, we have report number 21172 from the corporate officer regarding the land sale bylaw for the Chamberlain Park encroachments for Huber, number 4514, 2021. Councillor Parslow.
I move the report number 2172 from the corporate officer, the land sale bylaw, Chamberlain Park encroachments - Huber, number 4514, 2021 be received. Further, that bylaw number 4514, 2021 be given first three readings. And further, that the purchase and sale agreement dated for reference November the 8th, 2021 between the City of Dawson Creek and Claudette and David Huber for the portion of Chamberlain Park adjacent to Lot 22, Plan 24011, for the purchase price of $12,000 plus applicable taxes be authorized for signature following the required notice.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Kemp. Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Thank you. Item 10 is Mayor's Business, and I just have a couple of updates. I attended Frank Ross School, grade 2-3 class of Mrs. Abbott, and it was just an opportunity to engage in the discussion around democracy and local government, and the kids had a ton of great questions, primarily focused around the magic candy cane tree. No, I'm teasing. There was a really great, as always, so enjoyable to be able to interact with the kids. And thank you to Mrs. Abbott and the children for a fun hour. We have a new facility opened in Dawson Creek, the Chickadee Maternity facility, and it's being operated now by and on behalf of 4 or 5 local physicians and a midwife staffed with an RN, and it's providing maternity services, prenatal and postpartum, if I have that right. I know how to make butter tarts, but I don't know much about maternity. So the Chickadee Maternity provides that maternity services in the region and to the Southeast region, and really exciting to see that stability of maternity services, because it is one that you see and hear about how important it is to be able to have access to that maternity services. And so congratulations to Dr. Duplessis and team and all of them. And it's located in over on 105th Avenue in the 1000 block, and really great facility, and really appreciated the opportunity to be invited and attend. I had a call with Viva Swanson last week from Northern Health in regards to the new directive that has been placed and provided by the Ministry of Health in regards to the health authority beginning to look towards the support of childcare services in communities, and so Viva's charged with doing some initial work around that, and part of what they're looking at is affordability as they're recruiting new, particularly nurses, how affordability of housing, accessibility of housing, childcare. There's a bunch of components around that they're putting together the strategy on recruitment, and childcare being one of them. So we had a really good conversation, and I provided Viva with the housing strategy that we just have completed, and I got some other piece of information that I'll get to her, and hopefully we can see this move forward in a way that helps us support the recruitment of particularly those healthcare professionals in our end. Any questions or comments from anyone? Thank you. So item 11, we have our Chief Administrative Officer update. Anything, Blair?
Nothing to report at this meeting, Your Worship.
Thank you.
Unless there's any questions of any councillors.
Diary. We still have permissive tax, and I'm assuming, Blair, with the permissive tax policy, we've slated that for February of review, so I'm assuming you will engage Terry with that one, and will we start to have some preliminary discussions about that next step? I know that was significant to Councillor Parslow and a number of us to start that process, so in January after Christmas, would we start to put some of that preliminary stuff together?
We will look at it from an administrative point of view, and then in February, we will, at one of the meetings in February, bring it back for discussion. Certainly, if there's any indication as to interest of councillors on what would like to be moved ahead. I know Councillor Parslow has done a great deal of work on this. We've looked at some others already. We've just recently changed our permissive tax bylaw.
Yeah.
But since that time, there's always room to look at making it better, and that's the intent of what this review would do.
Good. All right. So time frame, we'll see it in February then and begin that.
Yes.
And that will prepare us for the 2023 tax year.
Yes.
To implement any changes by October.
Yes, Mayor and Council have adopted the bylaw and the people that will benefit from the permissive tax exemption for 2022 about 2-3 meetings ago.
Okay.
We did that.
Good. Thank you. Councillor Parslow?
Yeah, just to make sure this is captured as well, I put forward the notion that the permissive tax exemption for the golf course, there were other ways of that I read about in expressing the relationship between the city and golf courses, and I thought they were far more appropriate than and so I hope that's going to be captured in the review.
Duly noted.
Right.
That is, and just to be clear, the relationship would be, so in the winter months when the golf course is down, it could be used for snowshoeing, it could be used for cross-country skiing, that type of open public access?
Some municipalities have a letter of agreement, recreation, and they provide some support to golf courses, right, in return for certain things such as you're talking about, yes, but they don't give them permissive tax exemption. They work out some other arrangement. It's in that literature
Yes.
piece on golf courses.
Okay.
Yeah, it just seems that they're an anomaly with all the other things that we have.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Blair. Consent calendar, item 13. Sorry, go ahead.
I think we've got a procedural issue with this next topic, so I wondered if I can just raise that with you
Sure.
before we delve into
Yeah.
it. So here we're seeking approval for the release to the public, yet it's already been made public in this agenda. And so I just kept, and I apologize to staff because I should have mentioned this ahead of time, but in the eagerness of some other discussions, I forgot about it. But it seems to me strange that we are seeking permission from council to make something public when it's already been made public in this agenda.
Brenda?
Yes, through your worship, this report was approved by council on November 22nd at that meeting. So therefore, it was released to the public at that point. Just for
Okay.
convenience, we include it on this agenda.
So when I read the language seeking approval, right, I thought, so this is.
We could adjust that
okay.
language, yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. So is there anything anybody wants to lift from that report? So a motion to approve the consent calendar and those items that we now will be released. Councillor Wilbur, second. Councillor Kemp, all in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Strategic priorities, anything, Blair?
Nothing new to report, Your Worship.
Media? Brenda?
Before you move on to, through your worship, before you move on to the motion to move into closed, the CAO has requested another item be added to that.
Okay.
Item 8.3, as per section 92B, intergovernmental discussions.
92B? Thank you.
You're welcome.
So that concludes our regular meeting this morning, and I would now look for a resolution to move into closed. And agenda items 4.1 and 5.1 are in section 90 minutes, and the agenda items 8.1 and 8.2 are under section 91C, labor relations or other employee relations, and and item 8.3 is for section 92B. Move to close. Councillor Wilbur, second. Councillor Earl, all in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you, everyone. So we'll take a 5-minute recess and move to close.